What's happening, everybody? Tyrone Bowman for Black Wrestling News. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different stories from a lot of various sources and wrestling news outlets at the same time. So let me get started here. This first story is from a TJR Wrestling. And the headline says TKO's stance on selling WWE back to Vince McMahon revealed. So Vince McMahon is trying to find a way to buy back the WWE. And right now he can't do what he wants to do because he's still in the midst of a lot of, how do I put it? A lot of legal entanglements. And it seems like no matter what comes down the pike, because his wife Linda, she's the Secretary of the Department of Education, and I'm quite sure if McMahon is found guilty on anything, he'll get a presidential unconditional pardon by his millionaire buddy Donald Trump. So let me talk about this. On a recent episode of his podcast, former WWE announcer Jonathan Coachman suggested that Vince McMahon could have a plan in place to return to the company. The Colts surmised that McMahon may have agreed to leave and sell WWE on the proviso that he be able to buy it back when he resolved his numerous legal problems. Coachman concluded that such a deal could be possible as McMahon and Endeavor boss Ariel Emanuel have known each other for several years. Unsurprisingly, many within the industry in WWE have put little stock in the claims as noted by Mask J of PW News. Not only is TKO uninterested in selling the sports entertainment giant, but one source laughed off the idea of McMahon trying to purchase the company. I was given the word that TKO is not interested in selling off hashtag WWE, and the source I spoke with chuckled at the thought of Vince purchasing it back. It is very possible he may feel like he wants it back, but it seems very unlikely at this point since WWE is not for sale. In addition, it's believed that McMahon lacks the kind of funding that would make a deal possible. So let's talk about John Laurinaitis. Remember him? He had his stint in the WWE, and it seems like John Laurinaitis has turned back on Vince McMahon as the lawsuit continues. On May 28th, it was announced that John Laurinaitis has agreed to oppose Vince McMahon in a high-profile sexual abuse lawsuit. WWE's former head of talent relations will now work with Janet Grant's legal team against McMahon after he was removed as a defendant. In January 2024, Grant filed a lawsuit against WWE, McMahon, and Laurinaitis centered around allegations of sex trafficking and sexual abuse. This isn't the first time that Laurinaitis has appeared to switch sides after he initially opposed McMahon in February of 2024. At the time, Laurinaitis claimed he was also a victim of McMahon's, but 2 months later, he threw his support behind his longtime friend, insisting Grant's claims were false. Wow. So the WWE has some major plans for SmackDown. So let's find out what they could be. So once again, this one is coming from TJR Wrestling 2. With Raw moving to Netflix, WWE made the decision to make SmackDown a 3-hour show. I don't know when that's going to take place. Starting with the January 3rd, 2025 edition for this entire run on Fox from 2019 to late 2024, SmackDown had been a 2-hour show, giving wrestling fans one more hour of content to keep up with every week in a very saturated market. But it was reported that the switch only would be temporary, with SmackDown moving back to being 2 hours on June 6th. So, however, it seems that this will no longer be the case, according to a new report via WrestleVotes Radio on Sportskeeda, Backstage Pass Patreon. SmackDown will remain a 3-hour show. And here's the quote. According to sources, the plans for SmackDown show length on USA Network changed back in January. WWE and USA agreed that the May 30 show would be the final 3-hour presentation, but the show reverting back to 2 hours on the June 6th edition. We are told The show will remain 3 hours for the foreseeable future. As a USA Network was steadfast on keeping it that length, sources say USA has been happy overall with the performance of the show, numbers wise, within the extra third hour. Well, and originally when SmackDown debuted, it was I think it was only like 2 hours in the beginning. So meanwhile, it's been announced that the July 4th edition, well, we know it will be taped in advance for this year. The July 4th edition will be taped, and the show will instead be taped on June 30th, following Monday Night Raw. Okay, now let's go to some other news here, because a lot of things happening in the world of wrestling, and I'm trying to keep up on all of it. So Will Ospreay has sent a strong message after his AWE loss. At Double or Nothing, Hangman Adam Page saw off the challenge of Will Ospreay to win the Owen Hart Cup. The victory marked a major step on Hangman's road to redemption as he looks to work his way back into championship contention. After what he admits has been a difficult couple of years, however, following his win over the British star, Page is now the #1 contender for the World Championship. And following the match at Double or Nothing, it was reported that backstage Page and Ospreay were pushing for the other to win, and a final decision was only taken relatively late in the day. In storyline, Ospreay has also offered his support to Page, telling AEW's favorite cowboy to go and get the World Championship back. Well, like I know, that the camaraderie of friendship only lasts but so long. He said, if you stop, I would give you $100 or more. Not going to be stopping, Morgan. Not going to happen. Keep your money. Give it to somebody else. I'm like, I'm not for sale, baby girl. I'm not for sale. All right. So it's been reported that Will Ospreay is fine despite fan concern following his hard-hitting match with Page. And however, several stars who wrestled on the show are said to be banged up as AEW prepares for Dynamite. Of course they're banged up. It was a heck of a show. And so the Young Bucks, they ain't not so young anymore, in particular, are said to be hurting. And there are fears that Nick Johnson has suffered a concussion during Anarchy in the arena, although this remains unconfirmed. So a lot of stuff going on. Let's talk about the real reason why John Cena is retiring. So by 2016, it appears that John Cena became part-time with Roman Reigns, taking on the role as the company's flag bearer. So what's going on with John Cena? We know he's older. Then at the 2024 Money in the Bank PLE, Cena made a surprise appearance announcing his plans to retire, leaving the wrestling world and the WWE universe shocked. I think, isn't Cena almost 50? Or he could be in his 50s at some point in time. He also clarified that 2025 will be his last year as an in-ring performer. Later, he pitched the idea for a farewell tour to the WWE executives, which they approved. On this tour, Cena has turned heel and became a record-breaking 17-time world champion. You know what? Me personally, I don't think Cena is making it over as a heel. If they were going to turn Cena into a, quote, bad guy or a non-fan favorite, they should have done it when he was in his prime. They should have done it when he was in his early 30s. It would have been more believable. It would have been more acceptable because he would have been at the height of his popularity. And had Cena become a bad guy, a heel during that time, he would have probably been the baddest heel of all heels. But now that he's closer to 50, to me, it's just not believable. You know, I'm looking at Cena and some of their clips and everything, and he seems miserable, trying to act like a miserable person. So Cena spoke to WWE's former CEO and chairwoman Stephanie McMahon on her show, Stephanie's Places. He also cited deteriorating strength as the real reason behind his decision to retire. I can't even do these lifts anymore because my body's so beat up. This is Cena talking. So as soon as I got through that jagged pill of like, oh man, I'm never going to over press 375 pounds ever again, but let's work to see what best I can do. It's a very similar course to WWE. My skills are all on regress. If I continue at a full-time physical capability or involvement, I'm not going to run right. My partner is not going to run right, and our relationship isn't going to run right. Sorry, kids, it's time to close this chapter. I wish I was 18. I wish I felt great because I don't feel more at home besides in the arms of my wife than I do on the canvas. Close quote, quote. So Cena is currently involved in the storyline. Well, we know what happens with Cody Rhodes. So Cody is scheduled to face up against Cena in Money in the Bank on June 17th. So his rivalry with Cody Rhodes is expected to continue for the remainder of the year, with some industry experts naming the American Nightmare to be the ideal candidate to beat Cena for the title. Well, that's a no-brainer. I have to take a quick break. Black Wrestling News. I'll be right back right after this. I'm going to talk about Trick Williams here for a moment. So, Trick Williams has become the first TNA World Title Champion. I kind of like Trick Williams. I think he's getting over pretty good. So after bad blood spilled over between Trick Williams and Joe Hendry in recent weeks, Williams and Hendry went to war at Battleground. But in the end, it was a title belt to the head of Hendry in front of the referee that proved decisive. Trick Williams tried to use the TNA World title belt to attack Hendry, but was stopped by the WWE official calling the bout. The referee left the belt lying in the ring as he went to count the pinfall, where Hendry rolled Williams up. The challenger kicked out and avoided a standing ovation with a thumb to Hendry's eye. Williams then dropped Hendry face first into the title belt. A trick shot proved to be decisive as Williams captured the TNA World title to make history. However, there was little time for Williams to celebrate as his first challenger came to light on the 27th of May edition of NXT. Former AEW star Mike Santana competed in his first WWE match on that show when he defeated Tavion Heights. Santana also appeared later in the night to confront Williams and vowed to be the man to fly the flag for TNA once again. I don't think that Santana's going to win the title. TNA's Director of Authority, Santino Marella, like him, I like his role. He then appeared via video and made a title match official between Trick Williams and Mike Santana. However, that match won't take place in a TNA ring. Instead, the title match will take place on the June 3rd edition of NXT. I do not see Mike Santana defeating Trick Williams. I don't I don't think it's going to happen. Let's talk about Naomi and Bianca Belair. So what's going on here? The former WWE Women's Tag Team Champions demonstrated great chemistry in their matches and appeared determined to hold onto the titles for an extended period. However, just over 3 months into their reign, the pair lost the belts to Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, but they pursued their ambition to win them back. Their storyline took a turn for the worse when Jade Cargill returned from an injury layoff, revealing that her attacker had been Naomi all the time. This further deteriorated her relationship with Belair, resulting in a fallout. Naomi even complained on social media that her former partner was ignoring her calls. When Jade got her revenge at WrestleMania 41, which was a terrible match, that match wasn't that great between those two. Belair found herself in a Women's World Championship match against Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. Since then, Naomi has competed her heel transition, whereas Belair is out of action with an injury. Well, it's interesting to see what happens. Will Naomi come? Will Bianca come back? Will Bianca Belair come back as a fan favorite? What do y'all think? Or will she come back with a vengeance? Natalya celebrated her 43rd birthday recently with some of her closest peers, including Naomi and Belair, on a boat. In a now-deleted video by a former two-time world champion, the female wrestler could be seen discussing their love for pickle juice. Well, I'm going to leave it there for now, and I'll be back with some more headlines probably later on. So thanks for watching, everybody. Peace. Wait a minute. Let me cancel that. Can you tell me where Kevin... I'll have to look that one up. All right, y'all. Peace. Till next time.